I did 9 movies, but a couple of those were like cameo-ish sort of things. So really 7 movies, and I learned so much. Like over those years, I remember I got cast Wolverine. They'd already started filming. I was cast 3 weeks into filming, I think. Well, I started 3 weeks in, but they'd already started when I had my audition. They were filming that day, and I did a screen test the night. So I turned up, and you can actually go back. There's a couple of split screen shots going around the internet that show the difference. And the first day on film, I had to have my shirt off. And Brian Singer didn't tell me anything at the time, but later he said, I could only shoot you from here up and have the camera low. Because I remember thinking, comic books, I'd never read the comic book before. So I'm looking at the comics, I'm like, how long do I have to get ready for this? And they said, well, we're shooting in 3 weeks. I remember thinking, 3 weeks. I never buffed up for anything really. I was like, I think 3 weeks you can get buffed, I guess, if I go and hit it hard. So I went to the gym. No, the scene that introduces my character, they moved to the end. So it took me 6 months. That's where and then, of course, by the time I finished Logan, I was almost 50, where it takes even longer. So I just learned what it takes. And for me, in some ways, a difficult physical regime is okay, because I don't mind hard work. Do take it seriously. I feel so blessed to have the part, and I'm taking on a character that's so beloved to so many. I'll commit to that every day of the week, right? I'll give 110%. I find the hard bit of our job is, okay, the last scene of Logan, for example, where my character's dying, and I have, I think, one of the most beautiful lines written for the character, which is so this is how it feels, which is a dual thing about family and about dying, right? I suppose, in a way, the most intriguing, and the more I do it, the more sometimes frustrating, but actually enticing. But the physical side of it, I think I was okay with. Yeah, there was so many crossovers by the end, because I think I'd played it for so long. I'd had with Jim Mangold, the idea, I knew it was going to be my last one way before we wrote it. I just made that decision. So there was a weight of expectation, that I've been carrying. And I'd felt maybe for 15 years that Logan, or that film, was there in that character. I wasn't sure if the studio would allow it or if the world would want to see it, but I felt that was doing the character justice. So basically what I'm saying is I was super invested, and I felt so in it. And again, I was working with a director that I worked with 3 times before, who I trust implicitly, Jim Mangold. And I remember when we shot that scene, thunderstorms going off everywhere, and we had to shut down. And so he just said, we can't do this big stunt scene. Let's go over and do that. We'll just go and do the death scene. I'm like, now you could just do that. I'm like, all right, okay. And so we shot Daphne, and then he turned around on me, and he said to me, he did one of those, and he goes, let's just keep going. Let's do another. I said, you sure? I feel okay. And he goes, man, let's just stop the clocks. Let's not worry about everything. This is the end of 19 years. Sit in it for half an hour. And he rolled the cameras. Him just allowing me that moment to remember that moment. But I'll never forget it. It's like he allowed me to exhale and take off all expectation or worry or time. And anyway, that moment to me was one of the greatest gifts. There were some takes where I was weeping, and he goes, yeah, we're not going to use that, but good for you. Good for you. But he was glad. It was like I went through a whole little thing.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This is going to be my new Marvel Wolverine video. I'll talk about Hugh Jackman's Wolverine Marvel movies, then I'll talk about what's going on with new X-Men and Wolverine stuff in the MCU. So if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. We'll do a new Amazon giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and let me know which movie you want to see them introduce the new MCU Wolverine in during Marvel Phase 5. But just starting with number 5, if you don't know what's going on here in this clip, Hugh Jackman is breaking down all the Wolverine movies as part of this variety series where actors interview each other. So he's just talking about his time as Wolverine. He always tells the best stories about playing the character, little tidbits, Easter eggs from behind the scenes, especially going back to the original X-Men films. One of the funnier stories that he doesn't get into too much during this clip too is when he talks about reading comic books on the set of that original X-Men movie But one of the most bizarre stories behind the scenes of that original X-Men film is that Bryan Singer banned comic books from the set. He didn't want to have anything to do with the X-Men or the Wolverine comics on those original X-Men films. That's one of the reasons why they didn't do the comic book accurate costumes in his movies. But on the set of that first film, because Bryan Singer had banned comic books, Kevin Feige actually said that he had to smuggle comic books to Hugh Jackman in his trailer. Kevin Feige was working at Fox when they were making those original films. That's how he became a producer on those. He didn't start running Marvel Studios till later. Feige said that there were a lot of times when they would have problems on those original Marvel movies, not just the X-Men movies, and they'd sit in a room with the producers trying to figure stuff out, and he would tell them, just do what's in the comics, and usually no one would listen to him. But number 4, the stuff with the Logan movie and filming his death scenes that he talks about is great. What he means when he talks about James Mangold, the director, giving him all these gifts during the process is mostly the gift of time. Because when they were filming that at the time, they assumed that it would be the last scene of Hugh Jackman playing the Wolverine character ever, assuming that something doesn't happen in the future to bring him back to the Wolverine character. They were assuming that this was going to be it. It's no big surprise hearing him talk about the physicality of the role. He was such a badass for so many years, staying that big. But one of the reasons for him wanting to leave the Wolverine character, in addition to just doing this amazing bookend story, is because of the toll that all that abuse took on his body over the years. It gets harder and harder the older you get to stay that big for that long. But if you're a big fan of that stuff, Hugh Jackman has posted a ton of his Wolverine workout videos. Chris Hemsworth does the same thing too when he's getting ready for Marvel movies. Number 3, as for new Wolverine in the MCU, Hugh Jackman's most recent comments are still mostly that he doesn't plan on coming back, and Marvel will go with a totally new actor, and he's given his blessing to that. He doesn't mind, he knows that they're going to recast. There are a ton of Wolverine Easter eggs in the MCU going back to the Marvel Phase 1 movies, and movies where Kevin Feige said that he wanted to put X-Men characters and Wolverine cameos, but at the time they just couldn't get a crossover deal with Fox. They couldn't get him to say yes. So now they just wind up being cool Wolverine X-Men Easter eggs that they can reference in some of the upcoming Marvel Phase 4 movies and TV shows. The next big Wolverine-related Easter egg that we'll get to see is the Weapons Plus program through Thunderbolt Ross, the Hulk storyline, in the Falcon and Winter Soldier episodes this fall. They haven't listed an official release date for that yet, but if you chart the timeline of when everything is supposed to come later this year, they have to get Falcon and Winter Soldier episodes out by September in order for WandaVision to be able to premiere in December like they said that it would. The link back to Wolverine with that is that Thunderbolt Ross dusted off the Weapons Plus program inside the Hulk movie and used it to create the Abomination, who's still in the MCU. He's rotting in prison on the raft right now. But Wolverine is called Weapon X because he's the 10th iteration of the Weapons Plus program. The X stands for Roman numeral 10. So even though Kevin Feige wasn't able to get his Hugh Jackman Wolverine cameo back in the day, he can still pay it off when they introduce the new version of Wolverine during Marvel Phase 5. Number 2, as for other mutants and X-Men characters, yes, they've changed Scarlet Witch's comic book backstory a lot the last 10 to 15 years, but she was a mutant from the X-Men comics. We're gonna see her go full Scarlet Witch from the comics in the WandaVision series per Kevin Feige, and it's the prequel to Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness. The multiverse is Marvel's next big story device they're using, the way that they use the Infinity Stones for the story of the early Infinity Saga movies. Then there's her twin children. They're mutants in the comics because they're born with powers. It's implied during the WandaVision trailer that they're also born with powers. That's the qualification for being a mutant. You have to be born with powers. Then number 1, as for a new Wolverine movie, Mark Ruffalo of all people has actually been pitching Kevin Feige on doing new Hulk projects, both new Hulk movies and an Incredible Hulk Disney Plus series. As part of that, he said that he wants to do a version of the Wolverine character because Wolverine appeared for the first time in the Incredible Hulk comics. Now, I doubt that Marvel would want to introduce a new Wolverine for the first time in a Disney Plus series, but we'll probably see him in someone else's new Marvel Phase 5 movie first, like Black Panther or Spider-Man appearing during Captain America Civil War before they get their solo movie. Marvel still doesn't have the rights to do a Hulk solo movie though, so it's kind of a problem, but they do have the rights to do Hulk TV shows, which is where the Incredible Hulk Disney Plus series comes in. They haven't confirmed that they're doing that. Mark Ruffalo said that he's just working with Kevin Feige to come up with what the Hulk storyline will be during Marvel Phase 4 and Marvel Phase 5. Everyone let me know in the comments though, where do you want them to introduce the new version of Wolverine in the MCU? Which movie? Congratulations DK Commander, you're the giveaway winner from my last big video. Please email me on the About page of my channel so I can get your details. Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds just did this funny Deadpool Wolverine X-Men skit with a bunch of the original actors. You can click here to watch that. And click here for my brand new Boys Season 2 trailer video. Thank you.